If you're thinking about buying a cheap used SUV because everyone says it's the safe choice, slow down for a second because that decision might cost you more than you expect. A lot of today's affordable SUVs look good on the outside, but underneath they're packed with small turbo engines, CVT transmissions, and complicated systems that don't age gracefully. Meanwhile, there's a group of big, comfortable sedans that most people have forgotten about, cars built in a time when durability mattered more than marketing, powered by proven V6 engines and traditional automatics that owners are still driving past 200, sometimes 300,000 miles. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 big sedans that quietly outlast most cheap SUVs based on real data, real repair costs, and real owner experiences, so you can buy once, drive with peace of mind, and avoid turning your hard-earned money into a mechanic's retirement fund. Stick around because one of these cars might be the smartest used car decision you'll ever make. Let's start with a car that almost everyone respects, even if they don't admit it out loud, the Lexus GS 350. This is one of those sedans that doesn't try to impress you with gimmicks, it just quietly does its job year after year. The sweet spot here is from about 2013 to 2019, when Lexus paired this car with the 3.5-liter naturally aspirated V6, known as the 2GR engine, and a traditional automatic transmission, no CVT, no turbo, no nonsense. This is the same engine family that Consumer Reports and long-term owners consistently rank among the most durable engines ever put in a modern car, and it's not uncommon to see GS 350S still running strong at 250, even 300,000 miles with nothing more than basic maintenance. From a comfort standpoint, this is where many cheap SUVs simply can't compete. You get a low, stable ride, excellent seats, a quiet cabin, and build quality that still feels solid after a decade. Equipment-wise, most GS models come well loaded with safety features, strong climate control, and interiors that age far better than the plasticky cabins you'll find in many budget crossovers. Maintenance costs are also a pleasant surprise, with RepairPal showing average annual repair costs that are often lower than what owners pay on so-called affordable SUVs, mainly because this drivetrain isn't constantly stressed. Now, to be fair, it's not perfect. It prefers premium fuel. Brakes can cost a little more than a basic Toyota, and it's not the most fuel-efficient car in the city. But when you look at the big picture, owners repeatedly say the same thing in reviews. This is a car they trust. No transmission anxiety, no turbo failures, no constant warning lights. Compared to a cheap used SUV that might need a transmission or AWD repair before 150,000 miles, the GS 350 feels like the kind of car you buy once and stop worrying. And for many older buyers, that peace of mind is worth far more than a few extra miles per gallon. Next up is a car that quietly flies under the radar, the Infiniti Q70, and that's actually one of its biggest advantages. This sedan comes from an era when Infiniti was still building cars with old-school engineering, and the years you want to focus on are roughly 2014 to 2019, especially models equipped with the naturally aspirated 3.7-liter V6, part of Nissan's long-running VQ engine family. This is not a turbo engine, not a downsized experiment, but a proven V6 that has been around for years and has a reputation for running well past 200,000 miles when it's maintained properly. The transmission here is a traditional 7-speed automatic, not a CVT, and that alone puts it ahead of many cheap SUVs that start developing transmission problems long before they should. On the road, the Q70 feels solid, planted, and comfortable, especially on the highway, where it really shines. The cabin is quiet, the seats are supportive, and while the technology isn't flashy by today's standards, it's straightforward and easy to live with, which many older owners actually prefer. Maintenance costs are very reasonable for a luxury sedan, with RepairPal data showing annual repair costs that often come in lower than what owners of compact SUVs pay once things start breaking. Owners frequently mention that as long as you stay on top of routine maintenance like fluids and brakes, the car simply keeps going. Now, it's fair to mention the downsides. Fuel economy isn't great, especially in city driving, and the interior tech feels dated compared to newer vehicles. But what you don't hear from owners are horror stories about failing turbos, fragile transmissions, or constant electrical issues. When you compare the Infiniti Q70 to a cheap used SUV with a small turbo engine and an overworked drivetrain, the difference is clear. The Q70 was built to cruise comfortably for years, not to chase fuel economy numbers on a brochure. For buyers who value smooth power, long-term durability, and a relaxed driving experience, this is one of those cars that makes you wonder why more people aren't paying attention to it. Now let's talk about a car that surprises a lot of people when they actually live with it, the Cadillac CTS, especially the models from around 2014 to 2018. This was the moment when Cadillac finally got the formula right, combining real comfort with a drivetrain that could actually go the distance. The version you want is the one with the naturally aspirated 3.6-liter V6, paired with a traditional automatic transmission, not the earlier problematic setups. This engine is well known, widely used, and when maintained properly, it has shown the ability to rack up high mileage without the drama you see in many modern SUVs. On the road, the CTS feels solid and confident, with a smooth ride that's far more relaxed than most cheap crossovers. The seats are comfortable for long drives, the cabin is quiet, and you still get that classic American sedan feel that many older buyers appreciate. Equipment-wise, even base models usually come well-stocked with safety features, strong air conditioning, and simple controls that don't require a learning curve. This is a car you can get into and feel at home right away. Maintenance is where the CTS often gets misunderstood. According to RepairPal data and owner feedback, the costs are very reasonable as long as you stick with the V6 and keep up with fluid changes, especially transmission fluid. Owners who do that tend to report a very different experience than the horror stories you hear online. Yes, there can be minor electronic quirks, and it's not as bulletproof as a Lexus, but what you don't see are widespread engine failures or constant transmission replacements like those common in cheap used SUVs. When you compare the Cadillac CTS to a budget SUV with a small turbo engine and an overworked drivetrain, the value becomes clear. The CTS gives you more comfort, a stronger engine, and a driving experience that feels calm and confident, not stressed. For buyers who want a traditional sedan with American character and proven mechanicals, this is one of those cars that delivers far more than its used price suggests. Now let's talk about a car most people completely overlook, the Lincoln MKS, and that's exactly why it can be such a smart buy today. Focus on the 2013 to 2016 models equipped with the naturally aspirated 3.7-liter V6, not the turbo versions. This engine comes from Ford's long-running Cyclone family and has a solid track record for longevity when properly maintained. It's paired with a traditional 6-speed automatic, which already puts it at an advantage over many cheap SUVs loaded with fragile CVTs. What really stands out about the MKS is comfort. This is a true highway cruiser with a soft, quiet ride, wide supportive seats, and a cabin designed for long drives without fatigue. Many owners describe it as a car that makes road trips easier on the body, something that matters more and more with age. Equipment levels are typically very good, even on base trims, with strong climate control, good sound systems, and a focus on comfort rather than flashy tech. Maintenance costs are reasonable for a full-size luxury sedan, especially when compared to SUVs of similar price that start needing suspension, drivetrain, or AWD repairs early on. RepairPal data and owner feedback show that most expenses are predictable and maintenance-related, not catastrophic failures. The trade-offs are worth mentioning. The MKS is heavy, fuel economy isn't great, and AWD versions add some complexity. But what owners don't complain about are constant breakdowns or engines that give up early. When you line up the Lincoln MKS against a cheap used SUV, the difference becomes obvious. The SUV might look newer or more practical, but the MKS delivers a calmer, smoother, more dependable ownership experience. For buyers who prioritize comfort, simplicity, and long-term value over trends, this is one of those cars that quietly does exactly what it promises. To close this list, let's talk about a car that feels almost invisible in the used market, the Acura RLX, and that's exactly why it can be such a smart buy. The best years run from about 2014 to 2020, all powered by Honda's 3.5-liter naturally aspirated V6 paired with a traditional automatic transmission. No turbochargers, no CVTs, no complicated tricks, just a drivetrain Honda has been perfecting for decades, and one that Consumer Reports and long-term owners consistently rate as extremely dependable. From behind the wheel, the RLX is calm, smooth, and very easy to live with. The ride is comfortable without feeling floaty. The cabin stays quiet even at highway speeds, and everything feels laid out with simplicity in mind. It doesn't overwhelm you with flashy tech or confusing menus, and for many older drivers, that's a big plus. Most models come well-equipped with safety features and comfort options that still feel relevant today. Maintenance is another area where the RLX quietly shines. RepairPal data and owner reports show repair costs that are often lower than many luxury cars and even lower than some cheap SUVs once those SUVs start dealing with transmission or drivetrain issues. Owners frequently mention that outside of routine maintenance, the car just doesn't ask for much. Of course, there are trade-offs. The RLX doesn't have strong resale value and it won't draw attention in a parking lot. But what owners consistently say is simple: this is a car they trust. Compared to a cheap used SUV filled with stressed components and long-term question marks, the RLX feels like a buy it once, drive it for years kind of decision. And for many people, that peace of mind is exactly what matters most. When you look at these 5 cars together, one thing becomes clear. They were built with proven V6 engines, traditional automatic transmissions, and a focus on long-term durability, not trends. While cheap used SUVs often hide expensive problems, these sedans deliver smoother rides, fewer surprises, and real peace of mind. If your goal is to buy once, maintain it properly, and avoid turning your money into repair bills, this list shows that sometimes the smartest choice isn't the popular one. It's the one that's been quietly working for years, and if you've owned one of these cars, share your experience in the comments to help others make a smarter decision.